Okay, our next speaker is very ready. Um, Let me introduce to Bijay. One second. How are you doing, Bijay?
Hey, I'm doing greatly. How are you?
I'm doing pretty well. Very nice to meet you. So, Bijay Pratap, he is a software engineer at Microsoft. So, he is joining us from Bangalore, India. And for the next talk, he's going to cover uh, programming blockchain applications using Solidity and EVM. So please, Vijay, introduce yourself and stage is yours.
Sure. Let me start by sharing my screen. Okay, so hope everyone can see. Okay, hello everyone. I think we have been looking at some wonderful talks since morning about blockchain and NFTs. So it's time to develop our some own D apps, and I'm going to talk about Solidity as a programming language today. So okay, so again, I'm a software engineer at Microsoft. I love developing platforms that other programmers can utilize. I love reading about tech and sharing tech. Okay. So this is the one thing that I always tell everybody, always begin with end in the mind. So what is the end we are looking here when we are talking about learning Solidity as a programming language? Our goal is to build D apps, decentralized applications. And in order to do that, we need a platform to deploy, which is Ethereum in this case. Now, I've been asked a lot of questions like, is Ethereum the only platform in order to work with Solidity? That's not the case. We have Binance, we have Ethereum Classic, you have Counterparty, you have Tendermint on Azure. So a lot of things you can use in order to deploy your DApps, smart contracts that are in Solidity. But I recommend Ethereum because Solidity is natively supported. Okay, so again, the language is Solidity. And when we talk about deploying a Solidity code on a Ethereum platform, we need something in between called as execution engine. And our execution engine in this case is EVM, Ethereum Virtual Machine. And Ethereum basically is very similar to the concept like other languages use today, like C# or Java. It compiles a language in the bytecode and then bytecode get executed. We'll talk about in more details when we'll go to the compiler descriptions. So I want you all to take a look at this table very carefully, because if you are dealing with Ethereum network, you should know this table, you should absorb this table. One thing I want you all to notice is the units that I have listed here, V, Babbage, Lovelace, all the way to Fini and Ether. So in Solidity, all these keywords are a standard token. They have a standard meaning inside the program. So you cannot use these keywords when you are writing your programs in Solidity for your variable names or your function names. Okay. One thing I have listed down is gas. So and I have given it as kind of a value 100. But the thing is, your gas value will depend a lot on what kind of contract you are trying to run, deploy, what kind of complexity your contracts have. So we'll talk in detail when we'll again go through some examples. So first of all, okay, deep diving into the language itself, let us ask these questions: why you want to learn Solidity only, and why not any other programming languages? Because we saw many different programming languages have already been arrived in the market, which are compatible with different blockchain platforms. You can know very easy to use. So some of the reasons that I'm going to share with you, that Ethereum is the most famous development blockchain platform in the world, and Solidity is the language that is natively supported. Okay, it's very simple to learn because it's already very similar to all the languages that are already been popular in the market today. It's high level. That's why it's based on ECMAScript. So it is very easy to learn and code it. It runs on EVM, which again is very diverse. You have a lot of implementations of EVM, standalone EVMs, and test nets are there. One thing I want to call out is it have a very large dev community. About 21,000 people are there who are contributing actively towards the development of programs on Solidity. You will find tons of resources online because of the same reason. And as I told, the syntax are very similar to JavaScript, as the program itself is built on ECMAScript. And finally, every programmers want to hear this. This particular programming language is super easy to learn and use. Okay, so what do we build when we write a program in Solidity? So we build smart contracts. I'm sure like in all the talks we have so far, we have been hearing this term. So let me deep dive a little bit about the concepts, what smart contracts are and how does it matter to us. So smart contracts are a small piece of code. Okay, they are very similar to a standard on-paper contracts that we are familiar with. Now, when we talk about a paper contract, you need some kind of lawyers, a code in between as a third-party systems. So your contract in the real world is just a data, but execution of that contract is still in control of a third party, which is code in this case. Okay, but when we're talking about the smart contracts, these are self-contained data as well as the programming logic within it. You do not need any third party to execute your contracts. When your contract is out there and deployed on a blockchain, based on what kind of contract you have written and what kind of event conditions you have written to execute, your smart contracts will just simply autonomously execute without any third party interaction. And that's the beauty of the NED app that we are going to see. I'll show you a real use case when we'll talk about the demo in detail. So, okay, some little more information about the smart contract. So Solidity code is always deterministic in nature. And what I mean by that is, if you have a smart contract code written in Solidity, for same input, you will always going to find the same output. Okay, and again, there are some terms and conditions behind the scenes. I'll talk in details about that when we'll talk more about the programming syntax itself. Okay, so let's talk about the compiler, right? Whenever we talk about any programming language, compilers are the first thing that you have to take care about. So I'm going to share you several different ways or several different types of compiler that you can use in order to program or compile your Solidity code. The first and the most easiest way to get started with Solidity is the Remix. So Remix is an online as well as an offline IDE. And it's again open source, a lot of active community contributing towards it. So the first URL that you see here is you can directly go it and it will launch an online IDE in the browser and you can simply interact with it. I'm going to show you when we'll do our Hello World example. The second one is if you want to have a local live Remix running, you can go to this GitHub link and deploy the Remix and run it on your local so that you don't have any, you can go offline and basically compile your smart contracts, right? Next way is using NPM in Node.js. So using these commands, you can simply run it and you can get started with your local compiler. Very super easy. My favorite is Docker. You can there is a Docker image available, Ethereum.solc stable version. And the current stable version is 0.87, although the latest version in their nightly build is 0.89. And I'm going to show, we'll write all our examples today in the latest version 0.89. And this is the simple command that you can use with this particular Docker image in order to compile your Solidity code. Okay, so one thing I want you all to notice here is the outputs, right? There is an .abi and there is a bin, okay? So ABI stands for Application Binary Interface, and the bin is the binary code. That's the byte code that your EVM is going to consume. And the ABI is kind of a JSON output that basically gives you all the public interfaces so that your front-end application and the users can interact with it. I'll talk about in more details. Okay, and of course, compilers are available for all the big OS platforms, so you can always install it on Linux, Mac, and Windows. Okay, with this, let's see our first Solidity example. So when you are learning any new programming language, you always start with a Hello World example. And this is the code. It's a full-fledged working code for a Hello World example. I'll talk about the structure before we run this program. So the first line is the license. Okay, so recently after 0.6 version, this particular thing is introduced. So there is a concept of hiding your source code of your contract, which is kind of unlikely in the blockchain world. but this particular feature has been introduced in the version 7 and afterwards. So as I'm using the 8.9, which is the latest version, your compiler will give you a warning if you do not provide a license at the top. And then the pragma directive is used to specify what compiler version you want to use along with your Solidity, basically with what compiler will be used to compile this code. Then the contract keyword, contract name could be anything. Simply I have a message in a string, and then I have a simple function to return that message, okay? So when I compile this, again, using the Docker image in my local, I get two files as output, .abi and .bin. This particular image is on the right is showing you the JSON output. As it was a public function, only the public functions, by the way, will be included in your ABI file. The private and internal functions won't show up. So this will be consumed by your application, and we'll see when I'll run the Hello World example on the Remix, I'll talk about it. It will be consumed in order to provide you the interface so that the end user or the end application can interact with your contract, right? So let's now jump to running it.
Okay, let's run the Hello World program that we just wrote. So first thing is you just right click here, create a new file. You can name anything. Hello world.sol is the extension that you need to use. Okay, and you just simply copy paste the same code or type it, whatever you choose, save it. As soon as you will save it, it will automatically compile. So currently, as I have listed my Solidity compiler version at 0.8.9, it has used the same. If you want to change it to any other version, it allows you to do that, but you have to change it here as well. So note that. So now it's already compiled. Now let's switch to the run environment. So we have listed here 4 different run environments: JavaScript VM London, Berlin, Injected Web3, and Web3 Provider. So let me just quickly explain you what all these 4 environments are. So these 2 are basically the JavaScript implementation of Web3 protocol, which do not interact with any real network, blockchain network, but just it simulates an EVM. Okay, and that implementation is in JavaScript. Injected Web3 is a kind of interface which is provided by the MetaMask wallet, and here it is my MetaMask wallet. Once you install this plugin, you will also see that option enabled in your Remix. Right now, if you'll try to open the Remix in your browsers, you will not see it. So here is the MetaMask plugin that you can go ahead and install in your Chrome or any other browser. It will just support it, and you will automatically get this Web3. So we'll try to run, and this Web3 provider, by the way, is a way in which you can deploy a blockchain locally, or if you want to connect to any blockchain remotely, you can basically provide your IP address and port of the chain, and you'll be able to connect directly. So I'm going to show you running it on a simulated JavaScript environment as well as a test network. We cannot execute on a real network because we'll be charged real money. So first of all, let's try to run on simulated network. Let's deploy this. And if you'll see, it's successfully deployed. This is the transaction hash, and this is the prom address. And you will see here, it also provides you kind of a interaction UI. All your publicly exposed function will be exposed here, and you can just interact with it, and you will get the response back. So the hello message is back. And for every action is a different transaction in the blockchain world, and that's what you see here. The new transaction hash is created and everything. And okay, now let's run it on a real network. That would be more fun. So now I'm going to switch to Inject Web3, which I've chosen Ropsten network. So let me show you some of the test networks that we have. So here, if you'll notice, there is an Ethereum mainnet, which is the actual production mainnet And we have 4 different test networks, and of course there is an options to connect to your local private network if you install. So you can do this. I think there are softwares. The most famous one is Ganache. You can use that. But right now I'm going to use Ropsten Test Network and show you like how it works. So I have an account with about 0.58 Ether in it. So I'm going to use the same account in order to run this program. So the same account is connected, the one that I was showing you with 0.58 Ether. And I'm going to deploy this program. I don't need to compile it. It's already compiled. So now if you see, interestingly, it is asking for the permission because it's about to deduct some money from your, or rather some Ether from your account. So I'm going to be charged 504 PINE. Okay, and let me confirm it. So if you'll notice, it is creating the hello program. So basically somebody has to pick that and mine it. So any miner in the network would be doing it in few seconds. It typically takes about 15 to 20 seconds. Let's see. Hoping some miner to pick it quick. Okay, our transaction was picked by someone and it is mined. We got our transaction hash and the from address. One interesting thing I want to show you is you can take either transaction hash or the address, just copy it, and you can go to ropsten.etherscan.io. So this is basically the explorer for your Ropsten test network. Similarly, we'll have etherscan.io for your mainnet. So I'm going to click search. And if you'll notice, this is the 1 minute ago that we just executed. We made a contract out of it. And this was the gas amount, 504 PINE was charged. So you can have a track of each and every transaction that you make. You can also copy this transaction hash and search for it. It will show you your same record, right? So that's I think it about running your Hello World program. Okay, so let's talk about EVM now. So Ethereum Virtual Machine is the one where it provides the runtime environment for your Solidity. Okay, and behind the hoods, it's constitute of 172 different opcodes, and this opcode basically make it Turing complete. What that means is you can basically run anything, any logic, given enough resources. Basically, any compiler, that's the main crux of the compiler. You have to provide a Turing complete opcodes. The size of a word, a particular token in an EVM is 256 bits. Okay, and if you want to look at all the opcode that are available today, you can go to this GitHub link. Okay, and some of the like categorization I have done in order to easily grasp different classes or categories of the opcodes, I have listed here. And this information, by the way, will be useful for the people who want to contribute towards the EVM development. Otherwise, if you want to work on the layer 2, just the DApp layer, maybe I think you don't have to really go deep to the opcode level. Okay, now let's jump on the Solidity syntax rules. So one thing I want to call out as Solidity is a young language. What you will notice is if some programs which are written in maybe 0.4 or 0.5 version may not work properly on the latest 0.8 versions. Okay, and that's because with every single release, like lot of things change behind the scenes, and because it's again a lot of new features and supports are being added. Just to like notify you guys, some new opcodes are coming, which are related to your gas calculations, because we have been hearing like the gas taken by the Ether network is a little bit more than what other blockchain providers are claiming. So that's where some optimization is going on to minimize your gas calculations. Okay, so let's talk about the structure of any given Solidity contract. So we already see the first line, you have to provide the license. It could be GPL3, MIT, or any other license that you choose to give, followed by the Pragma directive, and you have to specify what Solidity compiler you want this particular code to compile with. Then you have a bunch of import statements. What you are importing here is contracts by other people or your own different contracts. Okay. Then you have a contract keyword in order to write your contract. Your contract could be named anything. Then we have a state variable. So the
thing that we call parameters in different variables or variables are the state, because this is the variables that control the state of your contract. A very cool feature is modifier in Solidity. This modifier is kind of a conditional that gets applied before your function gets invoked. So when we will show you the demo, I'll talk about this modifier in detail, and I'll show you an example how you can use it effectively, just to write even more cleaner contracts. This is a syntax to represent a typical function, and this is something called as event. So event can again be invoked from within the contracts by using an emit keyword. You can explore more on it. Now let's talk about data types in Solidity. So as any other programming languages, it's have all basic data types like string, unsigned integer, signed integer, boolean, addresses, arrays. Okay. And one thing I want, by the way, I want to show you something like this. There is a greater than, equal to, and less than symbol on the pragma directive. What this specify is this program can be compiled with any version in between. That doesn't mean that no, you can choose any compiler and run it on any EVM. You have to basically check the compiler that your EVM supports, because sometimes I have, in my experience, I have noticed this when I compile with a lower version and run on a higher version, sometimes at the runtime you get errors, right? So one thing, and of course there are EMs, there are maps, and struct is supported so that you can define your own data types. And so one thing I want you all to notice here, there is something really weird going on here. I want you guys to type in the comment if you notice that. Otherwise, I will point it out towards the end of the talk, okay? So let's move on. Okay, so variables in Solidity, you can use a very typical variable that you have been using in other programming languages. But I want to highlight some of the variables that you cannot use. Remember the table that I have showed you in the beginning? So all the keywords, all the ether, v, everything, you cannot use their standard meaning in the program. And the timing fields like seconds, hours, and minutes cannot be used as a variable. There are some special variables and functions supported by Solidity. And this is where I was talking about the native support on the Ethereum platform. You can interact with the block level, transaction level details, and you can directly utilize those informations within your contract by just invoking block.something or tx.something, okay? And I will show you an example with message msg.something. But yeah, I wanted to call out, these are the special variables that you can use. Okay, a typical Solidity function. A syntax is very similar. There is a visibility, and there is something called as pure. So this is like a kind of a thing that your compiler uses in order to restrict, okay, a programmer to modify your functions to not to deviate from the original behavior. You can use view as we have used in the Hello World program, and a pure function, if you try to do any kind of IO, compiler will basically complain. One thing to notice is Solidity functions can return multiple values. Here I have shown the example which is returning 2 values, but you can add multiple return statements, return values in your Solidity program. So that's one of the cool features. Okay, now operators. So as any other programming language, you have all the standard operators. You have exponent syntax like this. You have all the logical operators. You have this byte is a data type which you can do bit level manipulations in your code. So that's always supported. You can use that. Now talks about conditionals. So again, very similar to other programming language, if else, while, do while, for loop. One thing I have called out, currently switch and goto is not supported. I think goto is long gone. No modern programming language supports goto, but switch is also not supported yet in the language. And why I'm saying yet, because maybe in the newer versions of the Solidity, it may or may not come. So I want to say yet, okay? In the latest version, 0.89, it is not. Okay, so when anybody's programming smart contracts, like there is always a confusion in the new programming, new programmers basically, that okay, it's a blockchain, it is super secure. But that's not the case. When you are writing your own smart contracts, there are chances where you can basically write it in the wrong way, and people can take advantage of your wrongly written program and basically take all your money. So this code I have pulled from the real example that happened a few years ago. in which a caller can invoke this function again and again from the multiple APIs at the same time, and you will end up getting like withdrawing multiple times from the same wallet. Okay, so I want to say always do security checks if you're deploying your D apps on the main net. Okay, and how to fix that particular problem is you have to set the user balance to 0 initially, take the balance into an amount, and then only allow to call the function on that particular wallet. So these are the links I have provided. So always refer this known attack links before you are ready to deploy your D apps in the mainnet. And security consideration, this is the official documentation on the Solidity website. Okay. So now let's talk about a real D app on a blockchain. Okay, so from a high level point of view, these are all the components that are involved in any blockchain application. You have blocks. If you go left further, you will have chain of those in a blockchain world. Then you go to right, you have a bunch of transactions in your block. Then you have bunch of accounts which deals with those transactions, and each account can have two things, either assets, which is basically in an Ethereum world, you have Ether, and applications, which are your smart contracts, right? So let's move to a real use case demo. And this is what I'm showing you, all the setup that you will need in order to run this demo on your laptop. Okay, so you will always need a compiler. So I'm going to use Remix itself. You will need a runtime. So I'm going to run this on Ropsten testnet. You will need accounts and some Ether in your wallet. So I'm going to use MetaMask as my wallet to interact with the Ethereum. And Ropsten is the Web3 implementation provided by the MetaMask itself. And these are some useful websites which you will use in order to run this. So this faucet.ropsten.b is the site where you want to go and load some Ether for your test account. So you can just paste your account ID and it will basically credit your account by 0.3 Ether in order to run the tests. Okay. So let me explain about the use case that we are trying to run here. Okay. So let's say there is a person, he wants to create a will. Okay. And he wants that will to be executed after he died. Okay. So currently in this real world, you will hire a lawyer for your will. And after you are demised, that lawyer will basically take your case to the court, and then asset is distributed as per your will. But with the smart contract, you can do it very easily. And I'm going to show you just that. Okay. Okay, so let's try to implement this use case. I'm on my Remix online IDE. I'm going to create a new file contract. I'll call it inheritance.sol. So first thing I want to do is I want to write my license. So let me just copy paste it from here, and also the compiler version. Right. Okay. So now let's call this contract as inheritance itself. Okay. Now I need an address of owner because we want to transfer Ether from owner's account to different accounts. How much asset this particular owner have, which will be type unsigned int. Basically, it will store all the V, and whether this particular owner is demised or not, which will be kind of a Boolean value. Okay, so let's create a constructor, and this is the syntax in order to create the constructor. I want to put table in front of constructor. This will basically tell my Solidity compiler that this particular contract is dealing with Ether transfer. Okay, you can only do transfer and send on top of payable type contracts. Okay, so again, my constructors, I need to assign my value to my owner. I'm going to use this message variable that we talked about in order to assign this value. So whoever runs this program will basically, the value, sender value will be passed, and that's what I'm using for my owner.
For my asset, again, I'm going to use the message.value. And then for my demise, I'm going to initialize with false right now. Okay, then I need some functions that will basically execute my business logic. Add to will is the first one I want to use. I want to take the address wallets that I want to transfer, and then how many V's I want to transfer. Okay, one thing to note, V I cannot use because it's a standard keyword, so I'm going to just put underscore in front of it. And I want to make it public type, and let's implement it. Okay, so in order to store all the addresses and I need a couple of data structures. So I'm going to use address array, and I want to call it, let's say, call it wallets. I want to keep all the wallets address in it, and I want to use map, where I will map my address to how much V I want to transfer. Okay, so, and I can call it inheritance itself with a small I. Okay, so let's use that. So in my wallet, I will push the value of the wallet what I got, and then I want to put into my map inheritance of the wallet. At the wallet key, I want to put the V. Okay, well, that rhymes. Okay, so this is done. Now I want to create another function for the payment. So let's call it asset payment. Okay, and it doesn't need to take any argument, and it will simply, I can do iterate on all the wallet amounts that we have captured, and all the wallets dot length will give me the size of the array. I++. Syntax is very similar to all the other programming languages we have been using. Okay, now I want to transfer on the addresses, right? So I need to use payable because I want to call transfer. Then which wallet address you want to pay to. So on my wallets, I need to iterate and get the first address, and then I will call transfer on that address, and how much we had it stored. It is in our maps, so inheritance, and I will get the amount for the same address using the same address value. Okay, so this would work, and let's make one function to invoke this, and I will call it guide. Okay, so when this person demised, basically demise flag will be marked as true, and the asset payment will be done, right? So let me just put it there. Okay, so now this program will work, but I want to also introduce the concept that we learned about modifiers. Okay, so let's try to add some modifiers in order to put some kind of validations in the program. Okay, so I'm going to use a couple of modifiers here. The first modifier I want to use, and I will call this, you can call any name. I'm just going to call it the owner. And what this modifier will do is it will ensure that the one who is invoking the functions is the owner. Okay, so message dot sender is equal to owner that we have already captured while constructing this, right? And the way you end a modifier is always syntax wise, it is always underscore semicolon. So let me create one more modifier to prove whether the person has already demised or not. So I'll just call it as demised. Okay, and it will require my flag to be true. So my demised
demised is equal to true. And again, I'll use underscore syntax. Okay, now let me put this modifiers in front of the functions. So at will only owner can call. Okay, died, let's say only owner can call, and is demised before the payment happens. I want to make sure the person is demised, right? So it's a very easy way in order to include validations by using the modifier feature in the Solidity program. Okay, so let's save it. It will compile and tell us for any issues. So I do see a problem here. Asset is a keyword. So I'm going to call it message.value. Okay, I need to type. Okay, here it is the problem. Okay. Okay, so now it is fine. Compile. Okay, one more error. What is it? No visibility is already on the. Okay, yeah, I want to call it private, not public. And our compilation is successful, right? So now let's set up. Let's get some account. So I already have my account 3 address. So I'm just going to in order to run this program. Okay. And the way you get this address is basically you simply go to your wallet, and MetaMask just allows you to copy your address. So when you click it, you will copy the address. Okay. So let's try to compile and run this. So it is already compiled. Let's compile one more time just to be sure. Okay, now I'm going to deploy it on my test Ropsten network with initial asset value as maybe 1,000,000 V. Okay. Yeah, so 1,000,000 V is fine. And I will say deploy. When I hit deploy, it will again ask for gas authentication. They're charging me 924 penny. Okay, I approve it. Let's see, it will take some time to create, and it is created now. And I can go ahead and check whether my contract is created fine. I can copy the hash of the transaction, go to Ropsten, paste that hash, click search. And if you'll notice, 37 seconds ago, this particular contract is being created. Okay, to the contract. Okay, so now we are ready to interact with this contract. So first of all, let me add the address in my will. Okay, once I transfer 1,000, 10,000 V to this account. Okay, and I will say add to will. Again, it will execute my contract, which will again require some gas, but it will be lesser. So it is 227 this time. Okay, meanwhile we are waiting. Let me talk about Flattener and the plugins. So Flattener is a basically a compiler feature that basically flattens. If you have more than one contract, multi-file contracts, it will, or multiple import statements, it will just flatten everything into a single file, because some of the EVMs do not support multi-contract deployment. So it's always a good idea to flatten them before you deploy. Okay, coming back to my Ether, it has run. So if I click DIDE now, it will execute my payable method and it will transfer the amount. Okay, so let me click DIDE. Okay. Again, gas is required. So let me activated and Solidity compiler activated. There are many other like debuggers and everything, all the plugins that you can activate in your Remix IDE. Okay, so if you notice, my transaction is complete and the money is transferred. Okay, and let's see the account. Account 3 should have some V in it.
So this is my account 1, account 3. Yeah, sure enough, some V's are credited. Okay, so if you'll notice, it has received some V. Here it is showing 0 because of the rounding problem, but here you can see it has received it. Okay, so that is amazing. And what wonderful things you can do with it. So before you deploy your contracts, these are the few things that you always have to keep in the mind. You have to, as blockchain is only add and read, you cannot make changes. You can only change the state of the contract, but not contract itself. Okay. So these are some essential developer tools that I want to share with you. Remix ID is what I have showed you. Node.js, again, you can use. Truffle is a very famous framework. It works really good with Ganache and MetaMask in order to deploy your blockchain applications locally. And one more good news for Java developers is you can now write your smart contracts in Java. Okay, so Web3.js is the implementation from the MetaMask side, like in order to interact with the blockchain. That's the protocol. And Web3j is an implementation that basically allows your Java programs to get compiled into Solidity code and vice versa in order to write your contracts in Java. So that I just wanted to highlight. These are some of the really useful resources. The stateofthedapps.com website is a really good website where you can interact with the real dApps deployed by people from across the globe. You can write your own dApps and publish it here. Okay, and like the most exciting applications built on Ethereum is not probably even thought of. So the question is, after you have learned this wonderful language, what you are going to build on it? And with that, thank you so much. Back to the host.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Well, it's time for some questions. I mean, I think I cannot see you. Well, I have a few questions.